Welcome back to the Real Estate Show on KMED. It's Saturday, February 22nd. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you here today on the Real Estate Show. I'm a licensed real estate broker with John L. Scott, and Joe's a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Ideal Brokers. Every Saturday, we get right here on the radio and talk to you about real estate issues in Jackson, Josephine counties around the state and the country.
It's good that, Pete, we remind folks occasionally we do more than just talk about real estate. we transact buyers and sellers all the time. We're happy to help folks with that.
We do that, and of course, we're also always available to answer your questions.
About it.
That's what we do. We talk, and we can answer any of your questions that you may have, help you get a value of your property, you name it. You can go to our website at realestateshoworegon.com. Our email addresses are pretty simple, really. It's Pete or Joe at realestateshoworegon.com.
And we have a built-in panel of experts across the board that you've heard on the show and are readily available to help us with anything to help you.
Absolutely. Well, today, Lori Tella, she's an urban conservationist from the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District. If you're a property owner in Jackson County, in 2006, the voters of our county, by a really wide margin, approved a small 5 cent per 1,000 value property tax levy to support, being good stewards of land and water, learning how to do this better all across the county. And it passed by a big margin. Here we are now in 2014. JSWCD is going strong. It's been probably, I can tell everybody, my $4,000 tax bill every year. The JSWCD gets like $13.75 of that.
That's because you live in Ashland.
What a value!
You live in Ashland. It only cost me $7.81. Where I live in Medford for the year. That's all
for
I
the
pay.
year.
And I think of the number of citizens and the number of networking opportunities that come together, the number of classes that are taught that help people. Wow, what a great value. I would gladly pay that for all of that value back into my communities.
When you're guaranteed that's the value for that property tax works.
Get your bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Or your nickel, I should say.
Well, the JSWCD has been part of the real estate show for a number of years now, really. And Lori, were you one of the original employees when they hired, or did you come right after that? I can't remember.
I came after. Thanks for having me here.
Right after that. I can't remember. I knew you'd been right after the beginning anyway. Nice to have you here. Things are really kind of going wild right now, aren't they? You guys are really busy with lots of stuff.
We sure are. There's so many classes, so it's nice to get the word out. But, I started about 3 years ago and just watched the district grow. We've got a new building. We've changed staff. We've got new people on board.
And one of the things we want to say is this coming Tuesday, if you're listening to the show here on Saturdays, that Tuesday, the 25th, is the JSWCD open house, right, at the new building on Alder Street.
It is, yes.
Tell us about what's going to happen in time and stuff.
So from 1 to 4, you can come out and you can actually meet our elected board. So we have people from natural resources and different backgrounds going to be there, plus the staff will be there. So you come from 1 to 4, there'll be snacks provided. You can meet these people and talk to them about what's going on and find out what opportunities are out there. We're also in the same building with NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and FSA. And so both of those organizations are there to help landowners and farmers and ranchers. So we all kind of work together, and I think it's a really great co-located group of people.
Yeah,
so come check it out.
Yeah,
I've got to imagine folks who've been listening to the show over time have heard a lot about the JSWCD, learned a lot like we have. What a great opportunity to maybe go down and just pop in the door and say hi, and they maybe have things to put their property on their minds or classes they might be interested in. It's a great opportunity just to pop in and say hi, and I bet you'll make some connections and get the ball rolling.
What's really cool, though, is that the district and the groups bought the building. Instead of taking those taxpayer dollars, that 5 cent that they get, and say, well, we're going to rent, and throw money away renting or leasing. We're going to own the building. We're going to provide equity for it. We're going to give a good value back for the taxpayers. That's a great thing. And the building has become a public use, hasn't it, Lori? Because I understand that you've got conference rooms upstairs and that groups, which is so hard to find space, that are using the building. Is that what's happening? Which is, I know, something Randy White wanted to see.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of new faces, people taking advantage of it, especially since we moved to the Central Point area. We've got a different kind of group of people looking to take advantage. So courses, classes, events, groups, everyone can come, and 50 people can fit in the room. It's pretty good size.
That's a pretty good thing, and it's going to work really well. So that's Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, 1 to 4. The best way to find it is actually where the Grange Co-op. Everybody knows where the Grange Co-op is in Central Point. It's right next to it. You can't miss it. I mean, it's right there on Alder.
I could find that.
Could even
we would have
find
got
that.
a GPS.
Yeah. And I also want to give a shout out today to volunteers who are working on the riparian restoration work party out along Ashland and Bear Creeks down in my neck of the woods. If you know where the Bear Creek Greenway comes in down by the sewage treatment plant off of Oak Street is where they're talking about. There's some projects going on down there. There's volunteers down there today from 10 until noon. So hopefully they're going to do well. Bring drinking water and gloves.
And Pete really appreciates it because he walks his dogs there. It looks really pretty through there.
I was there yesterday afternoon, as a matter of fact, and it's a great project.
And he'd be there today with gloves on if we didn't have the show.
Yeah, well, you know what they're doing is something, Lori, we always talk about is they're getting rid of non-native vegetation that creeps along those creeks and things like that, and they're planting in its place native species and things like that. So
it's a great educational chance you can learn with some experts how to do it right. Get some good native trees along the creek.
Anyway, so wish them well. So tools, instruction, and snacks are provided.
And that a lot of the JSWCD events have got snacks provided. I like that.
This one is Lomacotzi and Bear Creek Watershed Council. They're down there leading the way.
Isn't that cool? Very good. We wish them well. Well, certainly the project is working because like I've seen it all the time. Okay.
And at Hawthorne Park, there's a similar project that some students have taken on with some leadership down there, and they've done a nice job down back behind Larks, the new Larks, and now they're going to clean up the other side of Bear Creek right through there. So there's huge potential for that area should we ever get the blackberries out and native plants and species back in there.
And there are a lot of blackberries.
Ooh,
and I don't think you could ever get them all out anyway if you tried. But that's a good project. I even saw underneath a viaduct in Medford, that one of the new things is to lighten those up and paint murals and things on those underpasses to make that more inviting than being sitting under a big concrete steel right in the middle of the city. I like that. That makes sense.
I would applaud putting a little lipstick on that pig.
Oh, goodness.
Well, and it is. And it is a big pig, too. Yeah. I agree with you that. Now, one of the things that Lori's done since she came here in the district, the Jackson Soil Water Conservation District, is that you believe very strongly in rain barrels, in some of the issues that deal with that of catchment and stuff, that, correct?
Exactly. That's what we're talking about with this drought. I mean, it's so important to start thinking about how are you going to extend your water use, and you can capture rainwater. It's really easy. It comes off of the roof, and you can capture that water and use it for your plants, for lots of different purposes. So today we're having a rain barrel workshop from 2 to 3:30, and it's going to be in Gold Hill. So if you're on the other side of the county, you might be interested in attending. So it's at City Hall, and we're going to have an expert down to kind of show you how to install one of these barrels on your houses.
Think of the rain that came in before this last few weeks. And that, of course, there was so much rain. And look how much came off your roof, right? You catch mostly off your roof, right?
You do. For every inch of rain we get on a 1,000 square foot roof, you can get 640 gallons. Wow.
And
that's pretty big.
And that rain barrel doesn't hold 640 gallons, is what I'm afraid of. That's
and I'm thinking of myself when we had that deluge weekend or two ago, and I was out on Friday afternoon because my gutters were clogged, and I had let the 8 weeks of dry weather go, get up there and get them done, but there was water just gushing over the edge of the eaves in the corner of the house there. I mean, untold gallons pouring off there.
That's a good time for maintenance right now.
Yeah, it's not when it's pouring rain. That's when I did mine, and we're not going to let that happen.
Your gutters were full, and rain just ran everywhere.
And that pushes back up into the eaves of your roof, and then there's all told kinds of destruction that can come from that.
Because we've seen that.
Yep, too many times
on those home inspections that come through, and you say, what is this? Well, I didn't know that was there. But you didn't do that. So rain barrels. I mean, you still, even though. Barrels don't coach 600, as you say, in a 1,000-foot roof, 600 some gallons. But the fact that you keep it and you use it,
you can you can link the barrels together. You can get larger tanks,
bigger tanks.
And what's so great about this also is when we get the rain, we get it all at once. We can get a lot. So this actually is a stormwater management technique. So it slows down the water. You can let the water run out in a couple days, but that way has more of a chance to enter into the ground and recharge our groundwater.
Well, I've been really aware of the discharge, the water that comes out of my property. When it rains like this, and you think, I got water running here, and I was really aware of that. How much is where it goes in pools, and try not to let it go down the street, because I can just see it running down, my hill. It runs right out into Highway 99 on down those drains and et cetera, et cetera. And so
Right
the goal is to not have any runoff,
It goes
even on a heavy rain.
Yeah, it goes directly into our creeks, and it's not getting a chance to slow down and get back into the ground, which is why we see less water in our wells over time.
I'm sorry, and water's expensive in Ashland, as you know, Pete. That more incentive there to repurpose some of that if you can over time.
Okay, so that's learn how to harvest your rainwater. That's today, February 22nd, 2 to 3:30, Gold Hill City Hall. So if you're out that direction, you might want to go in, because it's certainly one way of it, especially if you live in an area that your well dries out. You're thinking, like Stan's been saying, the wells are going to dry out this summer because they're not being recharged because we don't have any snow. These types of things really can work, as you well know, right? I mean, they absolutely do work. Okay, what are you hearing, Lori, about from within your? I'm sure you've had a number of conversations, et cetera, with folks about the droughts and kinds of things that people should do. What are you hearing from your side of the world that Joe and I we don't get into unless we talk to you about the drought coming up? I mean, what's going on?
Well, so the authority on this is the Water Resources Department, and on their website you can check out the drought monitor, and it has real-time data about what's going on in our area. So you can see, just updated today, that we are still in a severe drought. If you look down into California, you'll see that the colors of the monitor, they changed to like dark red, which means they're in beyond severe drought. They're
Beyond
very
drought.
extreme drought. So, but we are bordering the those counties in California, and so actually Klamath and a few of the other counties have been declared emergencies. So there is a lot. Water Resources Department is going to be they're going to be working to address this. Everyone's going to be having to come together and really think about how we're going to address these severe drought, as we move into the summer. So the snowpack in the Rogue is about 21% of average. Mm-hmm. And that we have NRCS who goes out and they measure the snow, and they're just, there's nothing to measure. So
nothing to measure. I've been out on those in doing news stories over the years. They called them snow tells. Remember when the first snow telemetries came out, and those places where there's usually snow, there's nothing. I mean, I go over to the mountains all the time, and there's nothing. So something's going to happen. It's not going to be a normal year. So how do people who live in rural places? I suppose you can't do much in a city, but people live in rural places look how many people depend on Tella Irrigation District water, Medford Irrigation District water, Eagle Point. There's just simply not enough water probably for the year to get a full deal. So Lori, what do you tell people how to prepare? What should we do?
Well, there's a lot you can do, and it's especially if you've got a lot of property, but there's things you can do in the urban area as well. For the upcoming class, we're working with OSU on dealing with drought on your ranch or farm, and so that's coming up on March 8th. There are so many things you can do. One of them is irrigation efficiency, so just try to figure out how you can make the best use of your water. So we're doing a lot of upgrading of irrigation practices, using drought-tolerant species and native plants. I advocate using swales, which are slight depressions in the land that help collect the water and let it sink into the ground. And so you can do this in your home in town, or you can do that out in the field, but you basically allow the water to collect into an area and just slowly sink in instead of running off your property.
Leaving off your property. So now one of the things that you own, the rain that lands on your property, you own, right? Right. Okay. Very, very good. All right. That's a very good suggestion there. And people who have irrigation systems or irrigation, I know that leak, because that's a big waste. All those kinds of things. Boy, you don't want to waste it now. You want to get those ready. If we do get water, they're supposed to start. When do they start water? April 15th is that kind of that time when usually the irrigation water starts to be flowing through the talent canals. I know. And so that's kind of going to be the time we'll know whether they're even going to be doing any of it.
Sure, a lot of folks are flooding their land, so they're still letting the water go across, and that goes into the creek. And there are other ways, depending on what you're doing. So it's this class is a chance to kind of explore what's out there, but you can upgrade to different kinds of sprinklers and pod systems. There's different ways of managing the water and really stretching it out so that you can make the most of what you've got, still be productive, make more money on the property, but also make good use of this precious resource.
And a lot of times you can, those systems will pay for themselves in the savings over time, Lori, and the efficiency and productivity that they'll bring in return.
It is incredible. I think, you can save it. What a small city uses with one good project.
In fact, I was at a builder's breakfast that we had from my real estate office at John L. Scott yesterday, and one of the things about was tolerant resistant plants, and the tolerant that new construction, new landscaping, that this is a very, very big topic, that this actually may be finally sinking into people. Why waste water on things that we really shouldn't be growing here? And we're seeing that apparently in a lot of new construction. That was good news to hear, I thought, from all the things that we talk about all the time, to hear that.
Conservation practices for each individual are going to be essential to help us all to get through this.
Absolutely. Hey, the Real Estate Show, we're with Lori Tella from the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District today on the Real Estate Show. The show repeats at 2 o'clock this afternoon here on KMED, and all of our shows are available at realestateshowOregon.com, our website. Don't you dare go away. We're coming right back after this.
The Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District is dedicated to enhancing our natural environment for both urban and rural landowners. To accomplish this, the JSWCD offers classes on everything from creating urban rain gardens to better understanding the environment you live in. Classes are held throughout the year. Check the complete list online at jswcd.org. The Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District wants us all to be good stewards of our land and water.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Show on KMED. It's February 22nd of 2014. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you today, and hope you're going to go out and have a good weekend, by the way, right? It's going to be a nice weekend. The weather's going to clear off a little bit.
You should invite the nice folks to come see us at our open house this weekend.
Joe and I, 1 to 4, by the way, today and tomorrow at 100 Willow Springs in Talent. Yeah. Combined visit.
Hope
it's always good.
See some folks out and about. I had an open house last weekend and met 5 or 6 groups that came through. So nice to see the buyers out there starting to scout around and get things going.
What's really interesting, when you get to everybody says, spring is when, everybody, spring does all sorts of things to people. So we'll see what happens, right, when spring comes. It's almost going to be here pretty soon. Our winter certainly is done, it seems.
Our combined offices had $26 million in sales in January. So I don't know if that's slow, but
somebody's buying something somewhere, aren't they?
Activity out there, yep.
Well, welcome to the show. We've been talking with Lori Tella. She's the urban conservationist from the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District on the Real Estate Show today. And jswcd.org is the website that we want you to go to. It's where you have all the information of all the terrific classes coming up in the spring, soils classes, et cetera, as well as the ones that we gave you today. And we'll repeat those at the end, so you can if you want to write any of those down, or you may want to attend any of those. We certainly encourage you to do so. Remember, Lori, we had an interesting question with the statistics now from the multiple listing service here in Jackson County, which, as a realtor, you got to be a part of. They have they've added the statistic rural properties now on the as a separate stat. It wasn't there before. You would have had to go in and search, for all sorts of things. Now it's right. So if there were 2,000 transactions of properties in Jackson County in 2013, what percentage of those do you think are rural properties? I put everybody on the spot with this question.
He's done this for the last 3 or 4 weeks, so you're just the latest.
You're just the latest one.
Actually, what I've been reading about is the small 5-acre size lots are the ones that are really growing. So the people that aren't just right on the edge of the urban and the rural, they're the ones that are kind of moving up, retiring, doing the farm dream, and they're doing hobby farming. And they're learning, getting a crash course and what it means and what kind of property they bought. And it's really interesting because they've got their for the first time, they have soil and water to manage and the resources and trying to get this to grow. And I guess they're probably our biggest target audience right now. We're trying to, say, hey, there's so much to learn. So we have 2 great classes, and they're Learning to Live on Your Land is one that's coming up, and it's going to be talking directly to landowners who are considering purchasing property or who have already purchased property and are dealing with what they've got.
With the issues of rural living.
So, the first question is what kind of water resources do you have? What infrastructure of water? What's your soil? And so these classes explore all of that and then help you get the best out of the land. So if you're buying or selling, if you're in the market, even as a realtor, those are the first questions that you'd really stop and ask, or what's water or soil?
What kind of water, what kind of soil do I have? If I don't have any water and my soil's bad, I'm not getting much out of this.
And I'm not a very happy buyer if I buy that place and don't know that ahead of time.
Yeah, especially if I think I'm getting is going to be something different, and that's really true. Well, you're right. 5 to 10 acres is the most popular, certainly. That's the biggest in demand, and it's right now it's the hardest to find actually as you come along. But it's a
and it was 25% of the total sales.
Yeah, so
for Jackson County for 2013 were rural properties.
So if we have 500 new people who are living in rural properties that weren't there a year ago, many of them need exactly what you just talked about. I mean, because that's what they're coming for. I mean, you're not going to go out and spend X amount of dollars and a lot of money on a 5-acre place or a 10-acre place that you've wanted to buy and not know exactly what you're doing with it, as you say.
Well, people come from all over, and they come here, and we have a different system here in Southern Oregon than happens in a lot of parts of the country. So we have our water coming from a wonderful spring up in the mountains. We're reliant a lot on the snowfall and the rivers, but then we have these strange systems of irrigation canals that crisscross the valley, and they're open channels, and it's very bizarre. And if you have no idea, you might think, hey, I have a right to that water, but you may or may not have a right to that water that's running right through your property.
No kidding. And I've met many of clients who I've had who come from the East or the Midwest, and we talk about water because obviously, I mean, we talk about water a lot, and they're really surprised by it out here because they're so used to they don't even use irrigation.
I'm from the Midwest, I know.
You don't even, this is really crazy to you, isn't it, when you first saw this?
It was bizarre. I was like, why is it green on the hillside in that one area?
In that one area, yeah. Why is it? Yeah, that's true, yeah. Well, that's what we face here, and people come here, and if you don't know if you have rights maybe on the property, they had them at one time, and they don't have them today.
There's tons of homes that look right down on the TID ditch right below them at the property line and have no right to that water that flows by. And they assume, most all of them assume that they would have that.
Yeah.
And then just where that goes, that's going to water, our food and our raise our livestock, and that water, it's passing over all these homes, carrying with it pollutants and nitrates, and it's going into our creeks. That's where it ends up, in our creeks. And I think just the way that all these systems tie together, and our stormwater goes into the creeks, it's just fascinating. Like, you would think it'd get filtered or it would have a different, conveyance system, but it really is. We're so interconnected here. It's a gift, but it is also something to be aware of.
It's a gift and a challenge how we coexist together to make them all work together without putting a crimp on one or the other, and yet everything is enough to survive. I mean, that's a great concept and a great way to go, and hopefully we can do it, because let's say water in the West is still we want to read some great books about the great water wars of the West, and
projections for growth for Jackson County indicate to us that water is going to be a more precious resource and much more of a community responsibility towards it is going to be required to accommodate all those new people that are coming. They're coming.
Right.
Yeah.
I also lived in Arizona for a while, and we don't have the water. Once we used all of our aquifers, you're in a tough spot. So some of the areas run out of water, and we're lucky here. We have water coming from a spring that somehow supplies the entire city's water use. It's amazing.
At Big Butte Springs, up with the Medford Water Commission.
We get some wonderful water.
We get 35 million gallons a day out of Big Butte Springs. In fact, right now, all the water, I think, out of the Medford Water Commission comes from Big Butte Springs in the winter. That's remarkable. And what a great resource it is. But boy.
I hadn't been to Phoenix in 20 years till Pete and I went back down a few years ago, and it amazed me the hundreds of square miles that was scrub brush desert that are freeways, strip malls, and homes down there now. I have no idea how they
the
get the
rain
water.
harvest.
The growth has just been, it was just amazing.
Rain harvest industry is taking off down there because when they get the rain, they capture it. They really, they see it as very precious.
Yeah.
Well, California, we're going to get a good lesson of how to allocate water in a drought from the experience that the state of California, our friends to the south, are going to go through. There's just, I don't know what they're going to do. It just blows me away.
I really hope they get some relief here soon.
If there's no relief, I know what do these cities do when there's no snowpack? Things like that. They won't have water in the summer.
By the way, one of the huge agricultural producers of the world
Absolutely.
as well, right down the
and
road
if you see,
there.
they're going to have zero water delivery, so they're going to go to wells or have water trucked in and things like that. So, it's going to be an interesting summer and lesson that we're all going to go through. We haven't done this in many, many years.
So hopefully this conference we've got coming up, it's Living on Your Land, and we're really pulling together with OSU and some of the other water quality professionals and experts in our region to talk about all of these things: water conservation, soil, real estate, all of these important issues. But it's about 16 classes, and it starts March 21st, and it's $50 a person. But if you're interested in learning more, you'd go to OSU Extension and find out all about the class and how to register. But I really think it's a way to empower people to learn how to take on some of these things and realize how connected we are and what an impact you can have on your property, no matter how big or small.
Or I could just go online myself and spend about 14 weeks on there and get a bunch of, no good information for my area or specific to my region. Now, this sounds like a one-stop shopping opportunity to really educate yourself. And as you mentioned, a lot of these people are coming here with that experience of a small farm or a hobby farm type opportunity. And you don't want those dreams to be crushed or a lot of money to be invested in something that doesn't work out the way that they had hoped and wanted it to. So what a great resource. One place where all the experts come to you with all the issues that are prevalent to your region, to your
It's a one-day commitment, $50.
Yeah.
It's like prior proper planning. You've invested hundreds of thousands in your rural property or in your property, and it could all be destroyed here if you don't take care of it because we've got a drought coming up ahead of us. Seriously, you need to consider that and think about
full
that.
Enjoyment and full use out of that
because
property.
you can survive and do it if you know what to do in advance.
Get some
all right,
experts in your corner.
That's the Real Estate Show. One more segment to go here with Lori Tella of the JSWCD. We're coming right back right after this. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show on KMED. It's Saturday, February 22nd of 2014. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, with you today, and hope you're going to have a good weekend coming up here in our last show of February. We're heading off into March next week with mortgage interest rates with Sandy Boughton will be along with us, and, well, she just knows all that stuff.
Might even get Coach, maybe? I don't know.
Look, Coach, Coach plays golf.
He's on a day-to-day status. He's on a game day status. We'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know
Absolutely.
Saturday morning at 9:55.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, welcome to the show. We're talking with Lori Tella from the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District, and here on the Urban Conservationist about water and all the kinds of things dealing with that issue, and it's going to be something we're going to talk about a lot, obviously, between now and next year, I have a feeling. Anyway, so classes coming up. We'll give you those at the end of the show. Want to say a big plug to the OSU Extension Service, and I know that you work with them, Lori, a lot. They have a levy coming up in May, a 5-cent property tax increase, just like the JSWCD did in 2006. And talk about value for the money, as we have learned. For that 5 cents, that $13 that I will be paying, $13.75, that the value for that is certainly the economic return for our county, et cetera, is just beyond me. It's just, you better vote yes. We want you to vote yes because we support it very wholeheartedly.
It's so clearly documented by success, the economic impact that it brings to our community, the networking and knowledge of citizens and experts that comes together through these organizations. You do well to invest back into your communities with such affordable opportunities like this. The combined JSWCD and OSU Extension will be $15 on your annual tax bill. And think of the number of people that I know whose properties, lives, and just quality of life is going to be enhanced, and the great experience that they're going to have for that little bit of money.
Yeah, it's a great value. And you work with them all the time, don't you, Lori?
Yeah, how we work together is, in part, they do a lot of the education, and we help do the education with them as well. But then we bring the technical assistance component and help connect people to financial assistance as well. So it fits together so nicely. They help do a lot of the basic education, and then we'll take people to the next level of implementing it on the ground and getting it done on their property. And then some of the realities of finding the financial match and seeing what's out there and what other, what resources are there to assist. So I think it's a really good complement, and it would be...
Well, it's a great three-legged stool. We always talk about that in government, funding of government things. And this particular one is the federal government supports it, Oregon State University supports it, and the local community supports it, each about a third of that total. And to do that, and again, as you say, Joe, the benefit that our community gets from the Extension Service, experiment stations, all of, from Oregon State University grad, we love OSU, and this is one of the great missions of our university.
And the engagement, how many thousands of our fellow citizens have had positive experiences through these organizations and opportunities.
It's a land-grant university, and that's part of its mission.
Exactly what it's for.
And they've been here for a long time. So that'll be coming up in May. We hope you'll support that. Okay. Now, we're going to be out of time, and we got things coming up. All right. So anything else you want to say before we give people those classes again? I mean, what do you got? The water's going to be the thing, isn't it? I mean, this is where you're going to spend your time, I think, the next few months is just dealing with this.
Just to be aware that, the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District is there. We take calls, we take emails. If you have questions about simple things you can do, we have handouts and resources. We can do site visits to your properties, areas of, concern that you might have or might be facing. And so we're there as a resource. And take advantage. Give a call.
All you have to do is ask.
And I will say, when I have clients, and we talk about certain types of rural properties that they are interested in, and we have questions, and I turn them over to people at the JSWCD
before you buy.
Absolutely, before whether it's a timbered property or it's an irrigated property, etc. Because they need to know that going into it. They really do. And that's one of the great values and services, I think, of what you do at the JSWCD. That's terrific. Anyway, all right. Let me say, the open house, coming this Tuesday, the 25th, the new open house at 89 Aldrich, right across from the Grange Co-op, that side of the street in Central Point, 1 to 4, correct?
That's right.
And
they got snacks
and goodies.
And you'll get to have a chance to meet our elected board and the staff.
Board's there. Randy's obviously going to be there, and you can see it in the new public rooms upstairs of conference rooms if you want to use them in the community. That's what it's for. Okay, that's Tuesday, the 25th. Right? I'm going. Yep. I'll be there. Now today you got a rain barrel workshop this afternoon, 2:00 in Gold Hill. That's your baby. Get some good stuff out there.
We
right?
have an expert coming down from Eugene actually to teach the class about. It's from Grady Barrels, so there'll be barrels there. You can leave with your little setup ready to go. So it's pretty neat opportunity.
That'd be pretty good. Well, maybe Joe was doing an open house today. I was going to say, because he's still, before he sells his house, he's going to have a rain barrel. A rain garden at your house. Yes, I agree with that.
Been threatening, and Lori's been waiting for my call.
Threatening 4 years. Lori's not holding her breath anymore on that. And on Saturday, March the 8th, this I think is a terrific class in cooperation with the OSU Extension Service, dealing with drought on your farm or ranch. Saturday, March 8th, 9 to 4. And you can register for that at the OSU Extension Service office or call them out there as well, and you can find them. Dealing with drought on your farm or ranch. I mean, this is going to be something that you've invested a lot of money in it. Take care of it. Saturday, April the 5th, 9 to 5 is the Living on Your Land. It's the annual stewardship conference. It takes place, let's see, Lori, tell me, Lori.
It's over at OSU Extension as well.
It's at the Extension Service, okay. And stewardship people and places, infrastructure, water, etc. There'll be 16 sessions available. That starts Saturday, April the 5th. Good stuff, actually, and hopefully many of you who have that interest will go out and take advantage of it.
Do we need bigger print for you on the flyers?
Sometimes, that's the thing. I got a glare here in the back out the window in back of me here. Anyway, that's all coming up, Lori. So we wish you well, and we'll chat with you soon again. And if someone wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
I'll just start with our website, jswcd.org.
That's the place to go. All the information's there. Thanks, Lori. We'll talk to you soon. Joe, we'll see you as well. This show repeats at 2 o'clock today on KMED, and all of our shows are available at realestateshoworegon.com. Thank you so much for being with us and making the Real Estate Show part of your Saturdays right here on AM 1440 KMED. Have a great week, everybody. God bless.